Hello, my name is Marie-France Duranceau and I'm the Director of Strategic Watch and Knowledge Mobilization at l'IRSST. It's a pleasure to join you today. I would like to thank Professor Martinez Yareta for the invitation. The goal of my presentation is to present what we did at our institute to address new issues that arise directly from climate change, and in this case from the management of burnt wood after a major wildfire. As you know, climate change brings new challenges to workers' health and safety. These challenges require that we find answers rapidly. So how can Research Institute help answer those challenges? My presentation is divided in two sections, a brief introduction of our Research Institute and an example of emerging climate change-related health issues for workers, the case of the burned wood. L'IRSST is a non-profit organization that has existed for 40 years. It is located in Montreal, in the province of Quebec, Canada. It is funded by the employer contributions and operates on a joint basis, meaning it includes both workers and employers. Our governance is shared between a management committee and a scientific committee. We have more than 150 employees, two-thirds of whom work in scientific roles. We collaborate and work closely with over 200 external professionals and researchers. The Institute is organized around 4 scientific pillars: the research grant program, the knowledge mobilization unit, and the labs. Now let's move on to the issue of emerging issue in OSH, so the management of burned wood after a forest wildfire. Forest wildfires have always existed in Canada. However, they have increased in number and severity in recent years. In July 2023, we experienced an unprecedented scale in 2 regions of Quebec. It should be noted that those 2 regions have a big forestry industry. So more than 1.5 million acres were burned, which is more than double the average of previous years. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forests had to implement a special management plan, requiring forest industries to use burnt wood in sawmills before using healthy wood. This situation brought a large quantity of burnt wood into sawmills. And this burnt wood brought an increase in dust, even of black dust. It also requires frequently cleaning of the equipments. In addition, some workers reported throat irritations. The situation was concerning enough that prevention and safety specialists and employers contacted our institute to ask if managing burned wood in sawmills posed additional risks to health of workers. They wanted to know if burned wood dust was more toxic, if the sample method normally used should be adjusted. We did receive many requests. To answer them, we decided to bring together in a meeting different stakeholders: prevention and safety associations, occupational hygienists, unions, and employers. The goal was to discuss worker health concerns and decide how the Institute could help answer those questions. Since the usual protective measures for wood dust was already in place, the question was, does managing burned wood expose workers to new toxic substances? The stakeholders felt they were in need of scientific data to ensure workers' health. And ideally, we would have answers before the next summer, before next wildfire season. The Institute proposed conducting a rapid review of the composition of burnt wood and, based on the results, assessing whether sampling methods need to be modified or updated. So we did a rapid review of the scientific literature on the composition and characterization of burnt wood. We also reviewed grey literature for standards and other regulations on the management of burnt wood in other provinces in Canada and other countries. Regarding the rapid review, 492 articles were identified, 39 were selected, and finally 13 articles were analyzed. I won't go into the details of the result as it's not the main purpose of this presentation, but I will present the main findings to demonstrate how we addressed the stakeholders' concern. The wood handled by the workers is a mix of healthy and burnt wood. The diagram shows the progression and different stages of wood combustions from torrefaction to biochar to ash. The researchers focused their analysis on torrefaction and biochar as these are two stages of combustions more likely to be present in burnt wood. The composition of ash was also considered, even though at this stage it's less or more present. So what the results from the rapid review highlighted is that the composition of burnt wood depends on several factors: the combustion stage, the speed of combustion, the presence or absence of oxygen, the type of trees, and the type of soil, the biomass. For torrefaction and biochar, the consulted studies show that PAH levels and metals were low or below detection limits. The presence of oxygen and high combustion temperatures reduced the level of PAH. This information was supported by the measurement of PAH concentrations in the air and dust of burnt wood that was done by the hygienists from Quebec sawmills. They found also low level of and below limit of detection. As for metals and oxide, even if they are present in torrefied wood or biochars, they are never at the level we find in ashes when wood is completely burnt. This is consistent with what hygienists found when they measure metal in the air and dust of burned wood sawmills. They found low concentration. What can we conclude from this rapid review results? First, we did not find any articles specifically addressing the forestry sector or the processing of burnt wood. The composition of torrefied wood and biochars depend on the combustion conditions, the temperature, the duration, the presence of oxygen, and the tree species and biomass. The heterogeneity of these conditions during forest fires means that the composition of burnt wood handled by workers is highly variable. It makes it difficult to draw a conclusion. The literature review did not identify anything specific that could help target additional risks to the health and safety of workers handling burnt wood. So it's not possible in this context to comment on the potential effects of burnt wood dust on workers' health. But please remember that the rapid review was on the composition of dust, not on workers' health. We also looked at gray literature and we did not find regulation or limit value of exposition. We had to conclude that the health effects of burnt wood dust and charcoal are poorly documented and are not regulated in the OSH regulations we consulted. So what recommendation could we give our stakeholders? In terms of scientific knowledge, they should conduct a literature review on the health effect of burnt wood dust. It could potentially provide additional answers. But the limited knowledge that we have of the actual context suggests that this approach will likely have limited success. Regarding sampling methods, it is suggested that to use existing methods for measurement of respirable and inhalable fractions of particles, heavy metals, and the verification of PAH presence in airborne burned wood dust. However, in the absence of health data and exposition limit values, it makes it impossible to determine an acceptable exposure level for this type of dust. The case of burnt wood management is a good example of the challenges we will face in the coming years due to climate change. Scientific data is crucial for making informed decision-making, but the speed of changes does not always allow us to wait for new research. A research institute like ours must therefore position itself a bit differently. We need to be able to respond with existing data and guide reflection so that partners can make the right decision, considering the context in which the work is done. This requires adaptation, collaboration with workplace, and collaboration with stakeholders. We are at the beginning of a significant changes to our environment, and we will need to adapt our research practices in order to help answer new challenges. In doing so, we will have to work closely with stakeholders, but also to work in a multidisciplinary ways. Thank you for your attention. We will publish a report on the result of our rapid review this fall. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions.